Hello and welcome to Muncie, Indiana, the home of the Schweet Shiznitz podcast. I am your host, Jason White, and here with me is...
Hello and welcome. This is Krista White.
Apparently, Krista is feeling like mocking me today, so this should be fun.
Mockingbird, mockingbird, mock, mock, mock.
Mocka, 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 mocka. So... if you have not listened to us before, well, shame on you. But we are a podcast where we watch an 80s movie and then we talk about it. My co-host is covering her face. I don't know if she needs to belch or if she's embarrassed. I don't know exactly what's going on over there. Something strange. But we watch 80s movies. We talk about them. We tell you what we think about them. We tell you what other people think about them. And we have lots of fun doing that. We typically share with you at the beginning of the podcast little things like 5-star reviews. As of the last time I checked, we did not have any 5-star reviews this week. But let me do a quick Oh, we did. We just got a new one. Let me see.
Now that would be really sad because my friend Katrina just started listening to us. And she said that we were hilarious. And if she's not giving us a review, Katrina, then you need to go find our podcast again. And you need to give us a 5-star review, Katrina.
Okay, I'm going to clarify here. We have a new 5-star rating. But whoever left us this 5-star rating did not write a review. So,
is it Katrina?
I don't know because they didn't write a review.
You don't have their name or anything?
It doesn't say anything. It just is our number of ratings went up one.
Katrina, you said you liked us.
But there are no more reviews.
I've got to talk to Katrina. Can you stop? Katrina, I need you to go on and review us and give us a freaking good rating, okay? Okay, girl, you got my back. Okay,
so any of the rest of you out there that are listening, but we do have apparently a new rating, but not a new review. We'll take the ratings. We'll take all the ratings in the world. The reviews are fun because it gives us a little bit of an eco boost, and I'll take...
Did you say eco?
Eco boost, like
Eco
on
boost.
the Ford vehicles where it helps your gas mileage get better.
Is that what's really going on here?
Yes, we get an eco boost.
Mm-hmm.
It also helps our egos because,
Does yours need help?
Probably, yeah.
I don't know.
So it's nice to be able to feel better about ourselves and, for people to tell us that they appreciate what we're doing. And it's fun to read them on the podcast. So, woohoo. Plus,
Streamers.
If we know who submitted it, then we will tell everybody.
Streamers, and you open up those old cans of peanuts and out pops a snake.
Yes. And also, if we get new patrons on Patreon, we will announce them on the podcast. We don't have any new patrons on Patreon.
You doing okay?
I'm doing great. We don't have any new patrons this week. So, but if you would like to be a patron and help support us, we are completely listener supported. All of our funding comes from listeners, so we would appreciate it. Any ability we have to improve the podcast. That's a lovely noise you're making over there.
Sorry.
Is that your helicopter impersonation?
Yes, we did have a helicopter last time.
Week, yes.
But they couldn't hear us.
No, they could hear us talking about it.
They couldn't hear the helicopter. It was really loud, but they only heard us talking about the loud helicopter that we heard. That was really disappointing.
So we just bought a house, so you can contribute to that too. We have lots of things we need to buy for the house.
Yes, we need to finish fencing in our yard so our dogs can not be on a lead and they can run around the yard.
Yeah, we just had to buy a refrigerator.
It's not here yet, so
no,
we
had to turn for a week.
So we had to turn our other refrigerator off while we do the podcast. Otherwise, you would hear because it is really, really loud.
But thanks to my co-host's refrigerator impersonation, you got to hear it anyways.
Kind of.
She does a great refrigerator impersonation. You should hear her, Robin Williams.
I thought you were going to say, thanks for my wonderful budgeting skills, we were allowed to go pay cash for our refrigerator.
We did pay cash for our refrigerator.
True story.
It's Johnny Cash. He's dead.
I don't think we used him.
Joanna Cash.
I don't know her.
I think that's his wife, daughter.
I don't know her.
No, June Carter Cash was his wife. I think Joanna's his daughter.
But my point, they didn't do anything for us to get a refrigerator.
No.
No.
I mean, they could if they wanted. You know,
I don't think that's going to happen.
If Joanna or June are listening and you want to become a patron, patreon.com/Schweet Shiznitz, and you can join. We'll send you stuff. We will let you...
Do you really think one of the Cashes is listening?
I don't know.
Okay.
We have a lot of listeners in Alabama. I don't know where the Cashes are from. They're from somewhere down south.
Only Alabama? I mean, last week you mentioned Alabama.
We have a ton of Alabama listeners.
So do we have more than Alabama? Because you just keep talking about Alabama.
We get, over the last month, we've picked up a ton of Alabama listeners. Still nobody in Mississippi.
So we only want to talk about Alabama?
No, I would love to have listeners from all of the states. Somehow the Northern Plains, we have no Northern Plains listeners. Montana, Wyoming, North and South Dakota, and Nebraska. Nothing. In fairness, there's only like a dozen people in each of those states. So there's a lot of open space, probably not a lot of internet.
I don't know.
And so I get that we don't have any West Virginia listeners. I don't think they know how to use podcasts in West Virginia.
West Virginia Mountain Mama.
Right.
Take me home.
I don't think they know how to use internet there. Right.
Okay.
So we'll get on to our movie. We did watch a movie this week. We watched a Dr. McDreamy movie, for those of you who are Grey's Anatomy fans. We watched a movie with Mr. Patrick Dempsey.
He's dead.
Dr. McDreamy or Patrick Dempsey?
Dr. McDreamy is dead. He's been dead for quite a while.
Actually, his co-star in this movie is dead.
But he's dead also. So, he's not on Grey's Anatomy any longer. He's not been on there for quite a while. Derek died.
Dr. Derek?
Derek died.
So we watched the movie named after a hit Beatles song. It's actually
I'm pretty sure that the Beatles wrote that song for the movie.
Yes, I'm sure, since the Beatles split up in the late 70s and this movie came out in 1987.
If you play that one song backwards... You know what it says?
That Paul's dead.
It says that Paul McCartney died.
And he's still alive.
But he didn't die, did he?
He's one of the two Beatles that are still alive.
He didn't die, did he?
No.
Because he was, like, right there.
Right.
But he didn't die.
But he was walking across the street on Abbey Road with no shoes on, which was also a subliminal message that he was dead.
Okay.
So, but he's not. He's still alive.
Okay.
So, the movie is... Can't buy me love. Everybody tells me so.
Did you just say?
Can't buy me love.
Did you say?
No.
Did you say love?
Can't buy me love.
Cindy Mancini and Ronald Miller live on the same street, but they're in totally different worlds.
Wouldn't you like to be popular?
Cindy's hot, Ronald's not. But he's got a plan that could change all that.
I want to rent you.
Rent me?
Yeah. You pretend you like me, and we go out for just a few weeks.
Just going out with me is not going to make you popular.
Well, I have $1,000. It says it will.
Now, the biggest social transformation in history
No hand-holding, no kissing, and I get my lunch hour off.
is about to begin.
Okay, Donald, we're ready.
Listen to one last thing.
Yeah.
My name is Ronald, not Donald.
I think that's Ronald Miller. Didn't you used to mow our lawn?
Ronald's over in No Man's Land, and he's still alive.
He's going from totally geek
Totally chic.
Let's dance!
to totally out of control.
I have moves. All I ever did was think about you.
Say it yourself. Don't change to please me.
Me change? Never.
It's the comedy that proves $1,000 can buy popularity, but it can't buy me love.
He's such a heartbreaker.
I might have. I don't know.
Love. Can you spell that? Luh. Love.
Lohove.
I'm not sure about that. And I don't know what that means.
So, Can't Buy Me Love is a 1987 movie.
Film?
It is. Well, it was made on film. They didn't have digital recording then, so most movies were made on film. It was directed by Steve Rash, and hopefully he had some lotion for that. And it starred Patrick Dempsey, as we were discussing, and Amanda Peterson.
I would like to make a comment. We started trying to watch the original Overboard. However, the film that we had was so bad and so blurry that you could barely even see their faces, that we decided that, well, I did. It annoyed me so badly that we decided we were going to watch this instead, and it was a much better quality film. So I don't know if Overboard is ever going to happen.
So Patrick Dempsey has gone on.
I wasn't finished.
I thought you were. Sorry. I waited.
I wasn't. You barely waited. I wasn't finished.
I waited.
No, you didn't.
I did.
I don't think so. Shelby and I recently watched the newer Overboard.
With Anna Faris.
And thought that this might be fun to watch the older one because it's reverse of the new one. And I just...
It has Faris Anna.
Excuse me. Did I pause too long for you there?
Yeah.
And so we thought that would be fun, but unless we find a copy that's going to be better, it's just not going to happen.
So
anyway, go ahead. You're biting at the chip.
Patrick Dempsey.
Not the chip.
The chip.
Well, that would be like better than biting on a bit. Biting at a chip.
Chips are good, especially if you get some of that hell of a good
And
chip
you know
dip.
something was funny is in this movie they actually show them eating Doritos in this like the old original Dorito bag, and I'm like, hey, I remember when those looked like that. Speaking of chips,
The Doritos look about the same.
I didn't even like see the Dorito.
No,
it
but
was
I remember,
the bag.
You know, they were triangular shaped and had orange powder on them.
And now they're oval, right?
No, they're still triangular shaped.
Be quiet.
Amanda Peterson did a few more things till the early 90s, and then she retired from acting to become a drug addict, and did that until 2015 when she died.
When your co-host's phone keeps getting messages because he does not have his sound turned off.
I do now.
Really? So, I don't have any of that fun stuff on my iPad.
Sorry.
And that you sent me all this business on.
So...
Really? That's it?
The movie.
That's all I get?
That's it.
I get a so?
So, suck your toe all the way to Mexico?
No, suck your own toe.
No.
No.
I'm not that flexible.
Your toes are funky looking anyway.
I'm sorry. I dropped a coffee can on it.
I've heard that a lot. A Senka? I don't know.
No, it was like Nescafe. It was instant coffee.
So Senka.
Senka's not instant coffee. It's just decaffeinated coffee.
I'm pretty sure Senka was instant coffee.
No, it's like Folgers, but decaffeinated.
No, it's in a jar.
I don't think so.
You don't have to think so for it to be true.
Okay.
So, Amanda
is dead.
I heard.
She's dead to me.
All right.
And everyone else.
Did you know that she was 15 years old during the making of the movie, but Patrick Dempsey was 20?
Yeah, which is...
It's another one of those situations. But the good thing is, during this movie, though, they weren't really, like, intimate. There wasn't really, like,
There's
making
one
out.
scene where they, like, almost kiss, where she almost kisses him, and he's, like, oblivious.
Well, and, like, you know, not to... well, it's not going to mess the movie up for anyone. At the very end, they do get together, and they ride off on a lawnmower, and they kiss. But you can't even see that it's really them kissing, so...
Yeah, it's like a silhouette.
It could be who knows who.
And it's kind of weird because in the movie, like, she plays the more dominant character through most of it, and he's, like, the subservient.
You mean submissive?
Sure.
I think that's what you mean.
I like subservient.
I'm sure you do.
And she's kind of showing him the ropes.
That's because She's really popular. That's the whole point of the movie. She's really popular, and he is way down on the chain.
Yes, he is the nerd, which, now now nerd culture is big. All the popular movies are geared towards nerds. You have all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies and the Star Wars movies.
I don't watch those movies.
No, but they are the ones that make tons of money. Yes, I do.
Okay, so you watch those movies and I don't. So what are we saying here?
We're saying that you are not nerd chic like I am.
So are you subservient to me?
I'm not going to go there.
I think you should be. We should learn something from this movie. I think that this movie took place in 1987. A lot's changed in the world since then. So the movie starts out with... No, I'm not rich either. Yeah.
Him, he mows lawns, and...
He's a hard worker.
He's making money to buy a fancy telescope because he's a nerd.
Would you like a fancy telescope?
No, I have no interest in a fancy telescope. So, he saved up all this money.
It was $1,000 or maybe more.
He had $1,500.
Did he?
But he is always like checking out the popular kids and checking out the cheerleaders and wishing
Amanda
that,
specifically.
Yeah. Cindy, I think's her name on the movie.
Her name is Cindy.
And he's always checking them out and like wishing he could be one of them. And his friends are always like, "Man, you're never going to be one of them. I don't know what your infatuation is. You just need to accept your role in life and roll with it."
Your role in life and roll with it?
Yes. And then there's a party that they show, and Cindy has taken one of her mom's outfits that's suede.
A leather outfit. And her mom actually specifically told her no. Well, her mom's going out with this really horrible goofball, and I don't really know why. But her mom's leaving, and she asked her mom if she can wear this outfit. And she said, "I already told you no." And I meant no. Well, Cindy sneaks and takes it after her mom goes out with the jerk and has left the house.
Steve Martin?
Steve Martin. That wasn't Steve Martin.
So she wears the dress, and
I don't think it was a dress.
It was a skirt and jacket or something. And she's like talking about how cool it is and how cool she is, and just working real hard to show off. And then
one of the dumb jocks runs into her and spills red wine down the jacket.
And now she's in huge trouble
doo-doo.
because her mom can't know that she ruined this outfit. So she is at the mall trying to exchange it, but the new outfit cost $1,000.
And she thinks that the store owner is going to take this back and for a return. And
then when he won't take it back for a return, she's like, "Well, can you just let me have the new outfit and I'll work for you. I'll work afternoons and weekends and just work it off." And he's like, "No."
Yeah, give me the payment up front. Give me the outfit up front. I mean, who's going to do that, right?
But Patrick Dempsey happens to see all of
What's
this.
his name?
His name they call him...
Oh, yeah. Randy, no. Oh, shoot. It rhymes with D. And then there's one with the R. Oh, shoot, I've already forgot.
Bradley or...
No. Go ahead and keep talking and I'll figure it out.
He is standing out. He happens to walk by there because he was just looking at the telescope he wanted to buy.
Yeah, he was at a store across.
And he sees her, and he sees the dilemma that she's in. He knocks on the window, shows her that he has the money, and then he makes the proposition that the whole movie's based off of, which is, "I will pay you..." Ronald, and
she thinks that
she keeps calling him Donald.
Yeah.
"I'll pay you $1,000 to pretend like we're dating for a month, and then you can buy the outfit and not get killed by your mom, and that will propel me to popular status."
Yeah, and they go over how many lunches they're going to spend together. How many dates? How many of them are going to be weekends? It's going to be at least one party at a friend's house.
There's no kissing. They're not going to hold hands. You know, all the ins and outs of exactly what this is going to entail. Because she has a boyfriend at college.
Yeah, but
he's not
called her.
returning her phone calls. So that relationship's kind of fishy.
Fishy?
Fishy.
Fishy?
He's at the University of Iowa.
Yes.
The Hawkeyes, my grandpa's favorite team school. And
Okay.
because he's from Iowa.
I see how that's relevant to this movie.
It is. Everyone needs to know that. My mom was born in Iowa.
Okay. So they get this whole thing straight. However, the next day at school, she starts trying to shirk from some of the responsibilities. And he's like, no, we had a deal. Blah, 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 blah. And she goes, no, it was one. No, we had a deal. It was this many. Jason, I thought you had that turned on.
I do, but it rang on my computer.
So it's just everywhere. So he goes back over it with her. No, you said this many. And she said, no, this many. And she starts trying to change the terms, but he gets her straight again. And they walk into school right away, go down the popular hall.
First she fixes his hair.
That's true.
And rips off the sleeves of his shirt.
To try to make him look better.
Yes, so suddenly he's cool because he has a sleeveless shirt and his hair's fixed. I mean, still, people aren't completely sold on him being cool.
She takes his glasses off because, cool people can't wear glasses. We have to be blind.
But within a couple days, people are starting to
come around
to him being all right. And it works out, over the course of the month, he transitions. He's going to all the parties. He's hanging out with all the cool kids. Now he starts not getting along so well with all of his old friends. He's standing them up at get-togethers. He's not showing up for their weekly Friday poker game. And one of his friends keeps trying to get together with him, and he keeps not showing up. So our dogs are making some strange noises.
Oh, that was your stomach, and you know it.
So his actual friends are getting really frustrated with him, which culminates in the jocks and popular kids having a Halloween prank where they are egging and ultimately throwing a bag of poop at the front of one of his nerd friends' house.
They have done that every year. It's a tradition.
And this
they tell
year,
him it's his turn.
They have set up a trap in the front yard with a big net, and they're staking it out with all black outfits on.
Who is they?
The nerd kid and his dad.
Right.
And they catch Patrick Dempsey.
You kind of haven't set this up very well. So the jocks are the ones who every year, as a tradition, have thrown the eggs and the dog do and stuff at the door. And so the nerds that hit the nerd's dad, I forget which nerd it is, are ready to catch him this year. But the jocks tell Patrick, Donald, or is it Ronald? that he's a cool one now, so he needs to do this. It's the last one that they'll do because they're seniors, and he's the one who needs to do it. And when they pull up and he sees whose house it is, he doesn't want to, and he keeps trying to get out of it. And they talk him into it, and he doesn't know that there's a trap. And so he runs and hurries and throws it and tries to leave, but he gets caught in the net. And when his friend sees him, he's in shock.
But then he goes ahead and lets him go. So he ends up getting away. His friend's obviously very disappointed in him.
Very hurt.
And very hurt. And he tells his dad that he just got away. He doesn't tell him who it is.
Right.
Tells him that he probably won't be back.
And he says, well, we're still here. We'll get him next time. And
so, but he knows who did it. And it was very hurtful because they were best friends.
And his friend keeps trying to call him and get in touch with him, and of course he won't answer any of his calls. But that's just part of things that are going on.
But yeah, that just plays into the whole thing where he's distancing from his friends. Now, his little brother is trailing him around through all of this, spying on him. And his little brother is the only other person in the movie who's really played by someone who ends up becoming a notable actor. And his little brother is played by...
Seth Rogen.
No, wrong Seth. Seth Green.
Seth Rogen.
Seth Green.
Same color, same car.
No, Green and Rogen are not the same color.
Same color, same car.
And so Seth Green is probably 8, maybe 10.
Yeah, at least 10. Maybe more.
And is spying on him, and he's really just shocked because he's used to his brother being a complete nerd, and now his brother's becoming a cool kid, and he doesn't understand how this is happening.
But he hides in the back of the station wagon. He just ends up everywhere.
And there are at least 2, maybe 3 occasions. There's a character in the movie named Big John who's like one of the biggest jocks. He's a big football player.
And he's really stupid.
And he's also very gassy. And it's like one of his characteristics that he will just have to fart all of a sudden. And it's apparently really toxic.
He makes sure that he does not fart towards them. He makes sure he lets his gas go like out the window or away from the group.
But he, on at least 2 occasions, like one time he farts out the window, and that's where Seth Green's sitting outside the window.
Seth Rogen.
Or Green. And then one time, Patrick Dempsey finds out that his little brother's in the back of the car, and so he points Big John into the car to fart, and he farts in the back of the car, and you see Seth Green roll out the side door.
Seth Rogen.
Again, no. Still no Seth Rogen. So
They're like the same person.
Not even close. I mean, one of them has really red hair and one of them has brownish red hair.
And they're both comedians.
One of them's really short and one of them's not.
They're both kind of short.
Seth Rogen's pretty average height.
Hey, on the TV, they look short to me.
One of them smokes a ton of weed. One of them doesn't.
Which one?
Seth Rogen smokes a ton of weed.
Oh, I bet Seth Green does too.
He might smoke some. I don't know.
Yeah, I can feel it.
But like Seth Rogen notoriously smokes a ton of weed.
Anyway.
So now that we know all about Seth Rogen and his weed and that he's not in this movie, they get towards the end of their dating cycle and they're out.
The month is up and they're laying under the stars.
Well, they go on their last date.
Excuse me? I'm talking
First,
here.
they go to the airplane place where all
that's
the
where they're
old
laying under the
airplanes are.
stars. That's what I'm talking about, dude. Why don't you just let me talk?
Then talk.
Why can't you just take a back seat?
Because you were missing the airplanes.
No, I was saying they're laying under the stars. All right? Anyway.
Whatever.
They're looking up at the stars, and he's like, yeah, he wanted to discuss how to go about something, and she says, yeah, I wondered when that was going to come up. And she's all like dreamy-eyed looking up at the stars, and you can tell they're not on the same page about what's being talked about. And she's leaning kind of towards him, thinking, they've started feeling maybe some romantic feelings, and she thinks he might want to kiss her or talk about maybe dating some more. And he says, so I've been thinking about how to go about it. I think maybe we should stage a breakup fight.
Yeah, and she's like leaning into him at this point.
And then she's like, oh, yeah, exactly what I thought we were going to be talking about. Because, she's saving face. She was, of course she wasn't going to talk about, going out some more and kissing or anything. So she's hurt. And so they start talking about, however they're going to end this. And she's like, yeah, whatever. That's basically how she comes off.
Yeah, and so the next day they're at school, and she says, we need to talk. And she's wanting to talk to him, what appears to be about, like, the fact that she really has feelings for him. And
I don't know. That wasn't really said.
He doesn't catch on because she looks really serious when she says we need to talk.
Well, guys aren't always that smart.
And he's like, oh, yeah, let's do this. And they walk out to, like, the center of the wherever in front of the school.
Courtyard. Let's call it a courtyard.
And he starts yelling at her.
I said let's call it a courtyard.
Okay, we'll call it a courtyard. The Courtyard Inn by Marriott.
No, they're not by Marriott. That didn't exist then. There was no courtyard. That would be Hojo's.
They walked out by Marriott?
To the courtyard at Hojo's.
Hojo's?
Hojo's. Go ahead.
Okay, by Marriott?
There was no Marriott. I think you just need to say that they were just outside of the school.
They were outside of the school, like a couple of fools.
Trying to make trouble in my neighborhood. I got one little fight. My mama got scared and she said,
you're moving with your auntie and uncle in Bel Air.
Let's just move on now.
So we're moving on to the east side.
No.
To a deluxe apartment.
We aren't, actually.
In the sky.
This isn't Different Strokes.
That was the Jeffersons.
Yeah, I know. I just thought you were going to keep going.
It takes different strokes to rule the world.
Let's just move back. Give me a break. Come on.
Because you take the good and you take the bad.
Hey, I said give me a break. Let's just move back.
I sure deserve it.
I don't have a silver spoon in my mouth. So let's just move back. There are no family ties. We're not talking about family ties.
How about growing pains?
I've got some pains right now for sure. Let's just move back.
Groin pains?
Groin pains? No.
Okay. So he starts yelling at her, and the challenge is he starts getting like real mean and personal.
Loud.
And so instead of just like breaking up with her and making it simple, and she's telling him, and she looks quite hurt that he's crossing the line, and he just keeps going.
He accuses her of breaking him, of causing him to go bankrupt.
And then he starts talking bad about her boyfriend and her relationship with...
Well, he said it's no wonder that he hasn't called you. You probably broke him too.
So he's just super mean to her. And she leaves like almost in tears. And...
He thinks it's all okay. He thinks
that it's just like, oh, that worked out perfect.
See, you guys, you know how guys are. I mean, they just are totally like oblivious, you know? They just don't understand.
And of course, something you have to know about movie making is for a scene to work.
What do you know about? Have you made a movie, Jason?
No, but I know a little bit about movie making.
Do you?
For a scene to work, it has to be obvious enough that the dumbest person watching the movie still realizes that he's being stupid.
Are you saying you were the dumbest one watching?
Maybe, I don't know. I suppose during the 32 years since this movie came out, there's probably someone dumber than me who's watched it.
That's probably happened. I mean, I'm not saying you're dumb. I wouldn't marry somebody dumb. Well, never mind.
We won't even go there.
No, you're not dumb.
So they made it pretty obvious that he was being stupid. And then he goes, like, after school to her. Well, first everyone's like congratulating me, man, you really...
Oh, yeah, and a couple of her friends right away were like, ooh, it's my turn.
And
you're
going
to
to
take me
like,
here.
Yeah, doesn't really ask him out.
No, she tells him, you're going to take me to this place. And he goes, oh, I am? Yeah. And then the other friend's mad at her for getting to him first, and they're fighting over him. And yeah, it's pretty crazy.
And then he goes to her house after school, Cindy's. And he's
Ronald goes to Cindy's house.
He's like, that worked out perfect, didn't it? And she's like, yep, everything was just great. You ended it just like we agreed upon, and everything's over just like we said it would be. And she just kind of walks away from him.
And goes in the house and shuts the door.
And he just goes on like everything's cool. And then there's the big party or the big dance where he is going. One of the other girls told him that he was taking her to the dance. and he's big hot shot.
He let
now.
on that. Yes, of course he can dance.
He goes to school like the next day after the breakup, and he's slicked his hair back. He's wearing like a suit jacket with a pattern shirt underneath it. And, you don't wear like patterns against patterns, but he did, and it looked really bad. But it was the 80s, I guess, maybe. I don't know. He was wearing like a bolo tie with it, which, again, I don't know.
Yeah, that was in style in the 80s.
It was a crazy looking outfit. And I think they made it intentionally like over the top, even for the 80s, because he was like supposed to be trying really hard to be cool. But everybody was like, yeah, he's the man. He's so cool. And he finds out he's going to the dance with this girl. So when he gets home from school, he tells his brother, who's watching wrestling, that he needs to watch American Bandstand. And so his brother clicks through the channels and sees two people dancing on stage to some weird music. And he's like, this must be that new wave music. And he leaves it with him. Well, it's not. It's some PBS, some African tribal special where they're doing some African tribal dance.
Mating dance.
And he thinks that this is like the new hip dance. So he learns this African tribal dance.
In the kitchen.
And then he goes to the dance and he's practicing it in the bathroom. So when he gets out there to the dance floor, everyone else is dancing and he starts doing this dance. And at first people are looking at him like he's crazy. And a couple of the gals are like, he must be special ed.
Then though his date notes that he's really cool. So this must be cool. So she starts imitating him.
Big John starts doing the dance too.
Not until she does though. Once his date starts doing it, then Big John's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, he's like, well, if Ronald's doing it, it must be cool.
And then, person after person after person start doing this crazy banging. I don't know. You'd have to see it. He looks like he's nuts.
By the end of the dance, Cindy's there.
Well, wait, though. His old nerd friends are over in the corner, and they go, oh, that's the African mating dance.
Because they watch PBS.
Because, of course, they're nerds. But if he was such a nerd, you'd think he would know that, too. But apparently, they weren't like the same nerds.
Well, he was moving on from being a nerd, so he hadn't watched that. He hadn't intentionally watched that PBS special.
Apparently.
He'd watched it on accident. So they watch all this happens. In the meantime, Cindy started dating this other guy who's a real dirtbag.
Well, and he's like a college guy, or at least he's out of high school.
And he's got like long hair, and he doesn't really look like he'd be a popular kid, but
he has a expensive sports car that he keeps clean, and yeah, he's really in love with that car.
So at one scene, and this wasn't the dance, but at one scene he's tells her to go get him a
extra thick
shake, and she hands it to him, and he goes, this isn't extra thick, and he has like a Porsche, and she pours it out
he says, go get me another one.
And she pours it out on the back of his car that he's been out there polishing.
It was actually the front of the car.
Was it?
And he's standing there polishing it because she pours it over his head and it goes onto the car. So
she's like, it looks plenty thick to me.
As it goes over his head and onto the car, and he yells and says, no! And he starts trying to rub the milkshake off of his car. Because,
she leaves.
Milkshake ruins the paint on the sports car, right?
Right. And then her boyfriend from college shows back up and is like...
This is at the last party.
Dance.
No.
Oh, at the last party.
Yeah.
And he's like...
The big party.
He sees Ronald, and he's like, what's up with this guy?
That nerd, he knows who he is.
And they're like, oh, man, he's completely turned around. He's, like, super cool now. And
they don't believe him. He doesn't believe them.
And he's like... Seriously? And
they're like, no. He's like, no way.
And he's like, they're like, yeah, man, he's been dating all the popular girls. And he's like, well, you're not super cool until you've dated the head cheerleader. And they all get real quiet because Cindy's the head cheerleader and Cindy is his girlfriend.
Well, I would say Cindy's not because he hasn't gotten, right. He hasn't called her or anything.
He looks at the one guy and he goes, tell it to me straight or I'll beat your face in or something like that. And he finally tells him that Ronald had dated Cindy. And so then he goes into the party and he's fuming, and he goes in and
find Cindy.
Finds Cindy.
Cindy's drunk. But you've missed a part that's really important. Cindy's drunk. And she's going around from room to room and door to door trying to find a place to lay down because she feels really bad. And every room has a couple or somebody in it. And she gets to the bathroom and she looks in, and there's Ronald sitting on the toilet with another very popular girl sitting on top of him.
Now, this particular popular girl over the course of the movie has been hooking up with pretty much all of the popular guys in the movie. So there was actually a comment because Cindy had said something about him not having a date or not having a girlfriend, and he's like, well, I'm going with so-and-so, and she's like, well, that's not much of a conquest. She'll spread her legs for anybody.
So anyway, and she sees them together, and she's pretty upset about it because Ronald's trying to tell this girl whatever, he needs to be with her. And she's saying, you won't respect me in the morning. He says, I will. Well, how do I know? And he just keeps trying to tell her anything. And then he recites this poem that Cindy has only shared with him because she was afraid she'll get made fun of by all of her peers, because I guess it's not cool for people to know you're smart. And so he's the only one who knows that she's written this. And so he starts saying this poem to her, to the other girl, because it's a very sweet and loving poem. It's a very sweet and loving poem. So she hears him reciting this poem that she's written, and he knows how important it is, and she's really hurt, and she's drunk. So she just leaves. And after that is when she sees that her college boyfriend, or whatever he is at that point, because they haven't talked to each other since he left for college, and now he's upset with her for going out with this guy. And so she's upset that he's upset because he hasn't talked to her, and everything just explodes.
And Ronald comes back down the stairs with this girl, and everyone's making a big to-do, and she finally loses it.
Cindy?
Yeah, Cindy finally loses it and tells everybody, you guys think Ronald's so cool. The only reason he's cool, or the only reason I dated him, is because he paid me. And he paid $1,000 to be popular, and I told him it wouldn't work, that you guys wouldn't fall for it, but you did. You guys were just as gullible to fall for the fact that just by dating me he would be popular. And
look who the idiot is now.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden,
nobody wanted anything to do with him.
Everyone turned on him, like absolutely everyone.
His old friends still didn't like him. His new popular friends now didn't like him. He had nobody. And
he went to see if his date was ready to leave, and she basically said, I don't know you, and turned around, and so he walked home. So, and then I don't know, he ended up, I don't know where he laid in some shed on the floor and was crying.
And his life was ruined.
Yes, and the next day at school, he was still dressed nice like he had been, and he went up to a vending machine in the hall to get something, and by the time he turned around, every single person in the hall had left. And so he was alone. He was a pariah. And that's the way it was at lunchtime, too. Nobody would sit with him, and he was alone. Yes, and he tried to go back and talk to his old friends, and they had moved on. They wanted nothing to do with him. So he was stuck.
And he kept trying to apologize to his old friends, and they wouldn't talk to him. He kept calling Cindy because he wanted to apologize to her, and she wouldn't take his phone calls.
And he didn't even know that she had heard him citing the poem to the other girl, so...
But yeah, she wouldn't take his phone calls, and he called once saying his name was Donald, thinking that she might think that it was cute or funny, and she still wouldn't take his phone call. And then finally, he just showed up there to talk to her, so she'd have to talk to him. And they finally talked.
Did they?
They did.
Did they really? Well, he had also ended up showing up at the arcade to talk to his friend that he threw the poo on the door, and the guy slammed him up against the wall and was basically in tears and said, "You threw crap on my house." And he didn't want to talk to him like ever.
But they finally worked through that too, to where they were friends again, but it took some intense stuff. So they talked again, him and Cindy, and worked through things, and then realized that they really did have feelings for each other, and rode off on the lawnmower into the sunset to the sweet sounds of the Beatles.
We All Live in a Yellow Submarine?
Yes. To I Am the Walrus.
I don't hear that one that much.
No. It's because it makes absolutely no sense.
Probably why.
Not that We All Live in a Yellow Submarine makes a ton of sense.
Ruby in the Sky?
With diamonds?
Mm-hmm. Ruby Tuesday?
That's the Rolling Stones.
And
it's a restaurant right around the corner from here.
True.
So...
Monday?
The original...
That's the Mamas and the Papas.
The original title of this movie...
Or is that the Carpenters?
Which would have been a little...
Are you ignoring me?
Yes.
Yeah, you do that a lot.
Monday was the Mamas and the Papas.
I said that already.
The original title of this movie was Boy Rents Girl. It's there. You have to...
All right. That was a really dumb name, Boy Rents Girl.
It sounds a little prostitute-y.
A little bit prostitute-y.
Yes, of course, her boyfriend, I think his name was Bob.
No, that wasn't his name.
And he called her a prostitute.
He did.
So, the film was made by the film was done completely non-union, which is almost unheard of. The Screen Actors Guild sent representatives to try and dissuade people from working on the set and being extras. It didn't work, but the school's drama club did decide not to participate.
Do you know that Paula Abdul choreographed the movie and has a cameo as a background dancer?
I knew that from reading about it. I looked and looked for her, but I did not see her in the movie. So, and I was looking for that cat too. You know, the one from her video.
No.
You know, the one from...
Cat Scratch Fever?
No, that's Ted Nugent.
That's Tom who?
Tom
Nugent. Brady?
Yes, Tom Brady.
Okay.
With the deflated balls. So, do you have any favorite scenes for this movie?
You first.
Let's see. Favorite scene...
We all live in a yellow submarine.
There were no yellow submarines in the movie.
They're in my head.
I don't know that I have a favorite scene.
Maybe the dance.
The whole dance?
The dance that he learned.
Yes, the goofy dance.
I mean, that was pretty funny.
The gorilla-looking dance.
Oh, well, some of the favorite scenes that we didn't talk about is when the one female teacher, the older lady teacher, thinks that he's a perv because she catches him in the bathroom practicing this dance. And she looks at him real weird. And, she couldn't have caught him practicing.
He follows Cindy in the bathroom.
Hey, you're taking over my favorite scene.
That's because you were wrong.
Let me fix it then.
The price is wrong, Bob.
You don't want me to say what Bob did next, okay? Okay?
Bob the Builder?
Because I can't do it right this exact moment. So... when she sees him, this older teacher sees him start doing the dance on the floor, she thinks that he's a pervert. Well, then when he's trying to tell Cindy how sorry he is, but she won't listen to him, he tries to follow her into the bathroom and then stops. Well, after he sees a ton of girls come out of the bathroom, he thinks she's alone. So he goes in there and starts just pouring his feelings out to her. And then he hears the toilet flush and he thinks she's coming out, but it is that older teacher. And she looks at him and she says, I should have known it was you. I knew you were a pervert when I saw you doing that dance at the school. Will you listen to me, pervert? You've got, Saturday detention.
For a month.
Yeah, for a month. And maybe that will talk some sense into you, or maybe that'll set you straight. And then she takes him out of the bathroom. Well, then all of a sudden, Cindy gets down off the back of the toilet because she'd been hiding, which, yeah, I don't like to spend lots of time in different places on toilets myself.
No.
But this teacher thinks he's a pervert.
There's a lot of fecal matter in there.
You know for a fact there's fecal matter in that toilet?
In most toilets,
you know why?
There's fecal matter.
Because you're the one who puts it there. Because you poop like everywhere.
I don't poop everywhere. I only poop in toilets.
But you poop like in all the toilets.
All the
everywhere
toilets.
We go.
I try not to poop in the kids' toilet.
Everywhere we go. We're like shopping today for groceries. And you're like, oh, I got to go to the bathroom.
I had to go to the bathroom.
You're like
we
Momo.
were shopping for like 3 hours.
You're like Momo. Anytime we're out walking for a while, he's got to poop. We're shopping a little bit. You got to go off to the bathroom, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
It happens.
Exactly. That wasn't really the point of this, though, was it? So that's just funny that she thinks he's a pervert because he's doing this weird dance. And then
her shoes and pants are probably covered with fecal matter now.
Do you know that I'm talking? Do you understand that you're messing up my favorite moment?
Because now she's covered with fecal matter?
Because you take over everything I say.
I was just adding a little bit of flavor.
I don't want your fecal flavor on my favorite moment.
Is that a new kind of Doritos?
I hope not.
Fecal flavor.
Go ahead. You just take over like you do.
Well, the next thing we do is we give our reviews.
You don't have a favorite?
I don't.
Why? Because you don't like it?
It's not my favorite.
Can't Buy Me Love is not your favorite?
No.
Wow.
So we will give it our reviews. We give our reviews out of 5 Shiznitz. So 1 Shiznit would be a movie that you loathe, despise, never want to see again,
blah, blah,
would
blah.
like to see purged from the face of the earth.
Blah, blah, blah.
5 Shiznits would be an amazing movie that you could watch over and over again and enjoy endlessly.
My endless love. Go ahead, rate your nits.
I would give this 2.2 Shiznits.
Mm-hmm. Why?
Because it's very cheesy and predictable.
You like cheese.
It is amusing at points. It is not particularly original. There are a lot of questionable things in it. It's got quite a bit of foul language, a lot of sexual stuff.
What?
Yeah.
I don't remember any language.
There was an F-bomb. There were quite a few other bits of language.
You mean free?
Yes.
Free.
Freak. And they did use the R word once.
Rhubarb?
Yes. Rutabaga.
Rhubarb.
So what
Ruth.
is
Baby
your
Ruth.
rating of Can't Buy Me Love?
Baby Ruth.
That was a different movie we watched a couple weeks ago.
Baby Ruth. That was the R word.
Yeah. What is your review of this movie?
I don't know. Maybe a 3.6. Why not? I mean,
That just the
it's
first
okay,
number that
but
popped
it's
into your
okay
head?
to watch once in a while. I don't hate it. It isn't my favorite movie in the world, but I could watch it, like I said, once in a while. It's kind of funny. It's just an 80s movie. It's a true 80s movie.
Yes, because it was made during the 80s.
Because it just has those 80s qualifications.
And that is the definition of an 80s movie.
That
is
is
a movie
correct.
that was made during
In
the
the
80s.
Yes.
So you know how we feel about the movie. Let's get some other people's opinions. First, we'll get our critics' reviews. Would you like to read the first review?
It doesn't have any stars on it.
No, he didn't give stars. He just gave a review.
Sadly, I feel the message of Can't Buy Me Love is more relevant than ever. Hopefully it shows young viewers that they can empower themselves if they're surrounded by adults who look the other way when they're being mistreated. Fred Topple, We Live Entertainment.
Our next review. The story of a nerd who pays a perky cheerleader to date him so he will become popular is almost pornographic in its uninhibited, primitive display of the confusion and insecurity that rolls like a tempest.
Royals?
Rolls.
There's no two L's. That's R-O-I-L-S.
Okay. In the developing mind of the American teenager by Jordan Hiller, who gives it a 3 out of 4 at bangitout.com. Guess that's the pornographic part.
It doesn't have...
Don't go to bangitout.com because I have no idea what kind of website that is.
It doesn't have a thought in its head and probably no notion of the corruption at its core. Roger Ebert, a 0.5 star out of 4. Now here's a thought. Roger Ebert just hates all of these kinds of movies, so why does he critique them?
If it's funny or scary...
So, if you're a food critic and you hate Chinese food and you hate Mexican food, don't go critique Chinese or Mexican food. That just doesn't seem right. But he continues to critique these movies that he hates. He doesn't like these genre movies, so I don't understand why he does. But anyway, let's move on.
So, the fourth critic's review. This film thinks it wants to be sincere, when all it truly wants is to be popular, just like the other kids' movies. So it sells off its originality. Karen James, 2.5 out of 5 from the New York Times.
Apparently this film has its own thoughts, feelings, and brains.
Yes, it is a sentient movie.
Let's move on to some Amazon reviews.
Yes, Amazon reviews from people like you and me. But
Well, I don't
probably
know.
not like me.
They might be like older. I don't know. This person is Jay Shea.
Jay Shea.
Jay Shea gives it 5 stars. Pure guilty pleasure 80s fun. A pre-McDreamy Patrick Dempsey is the quintessential 1980s dork in this awesome rom-com. With her fluffy blonde perm and cheerleader outfit, Amanda Peterson is the quintessential 1980s it girl. Together they find love in this cheesy and predictable but thorough, enjoyable, at least for anyone who grew up in the 80s or 90s flick. Dempsey really is a great actor. Peterson holds her own as well, and the supporting cast is fab. The snobby but likable popular girls, the revenge of the nerds type, social outcast, and a super young Seth Green. Rogan. As Dempsey's pesky younger bro get lots of laughs throughout.
And our next review is by iSky. iSky gives this 5 stars and says it is a great watch for families. What can I say? It's a classic. If you're a Dempsey fan and you want to see him in his pre-Grey's Anatomy days, this movie is for you. Actually, if you want to see him pre-Grey's Anatomy in a family movie, you could watch that movie where he has, what's the one with the Princess Enchanted? Because he's in that, and with Amy Adams, and she's the cartoon princess that becomes a real princess.
I don't know.
And it is a family movie.
Why don't you finish reading this here?
So, it's a great story you can watch with family. It has no cursing. Wrong.
I'm thinking they weren't watching this movie.
No sex. Wrong. Mm-hmm. No violence. That's probably true. No drugs. There is a lot of teenage drinking.
That's true.
And it's a great film with a good storyline. So I don't know that iSky actually watched this particular movie.
Yeah, I'm not sure what iSky was watching.
Yeah, iSky may have went to get a drink or use the bathroom at certain points in the movie and missed parts of it.
Or maybe iSky was watching a different Dempsey movie.
Maybe.
John B. Urschel gives it 1 star. If you're thinking this film is as good as any film John Hughes wrote and directed in the 80s, you're wrong.
Now, that's just the title of the review.
Do you know that I'm reading?
I just wanted to make sure we
know that
knew that that's the review title.
Do you know that anytime I read, you interrupt me? Anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime. Like, I can't do it by myself.
Now read this long review.
Listen, like, I can't do it by myself. I have not had training wheels on my bicycle for several years.
You haven't rode a bicycle for a few years.
That is not the point at all. I can feed myself. I mean, I can take a bath or a shower by myself. I even drive a car. Did you know that? Really? How do you think I get to work? Nothing?
That's probably a discussion for a different time.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm going to start this over, and you're going to sit there and try to look pretty. Okay?
That doesn't make for a very
John
good podcast.
B. Urschel. 1 star. Apparently, Jason thinks this is the title. Okay?
It is.
The title is, if you're thinking this film is as good as any film John Hughes wrote and directed in the 80s, you're wrong. Worst 80s teen movie ever.
Yes, the review is worst 80s teen movie ever.
Again, I said it just like it's written.
The longest title with the shortest review.
And I don't think John has watched a lot of 80s teen movies, because this cannot be the worst 80s teen movie ever.
No,
not
it's
even
pretty
possible.
average as far as 80s teen movies go.
Now you're going to read this next one, I'm guessing.
Daniel Hayes also gives this 1 star. Now I know why I didn't watch this when it came out in theaters 20 years ago. That's the title. 1987, one of the worst years for movies.
You sure that's not part of the title?
Yes.
Okay.
There were a string of losers that came out.
Now make sure you listen to all of this, because you might understand in the end why this is such a weird review.
There were a string of losers.
Because you're going to wonder what he's really talking about in this review.
Sitting across the table from me.
Because, you may be wondering, is he talking about this movie?
Just keep talking while I'm trying to read this review.
Oh, are you talking about me, or are you talking about yourself? Are you looking in the mirror? Are you looking in the mirror? Do you have the camera flipped around on your phone?
I don't have a mirror.
Do you have the camera flipped around so you're looking at yourself on the phone?
I'm not looking at a camera. One of the worst years for movies. There were a string of losers that came out at what seemed like all at once. There was a remake of Wanted Dead or Alive. I don't remember that movie. There was Stakeout. Adventures in Babysitting. I kind of like that movie.
It's not what he said. You need to read it like he said.
And then this one. These were all losers because they had a shallow plot, a lack of talented actors and actresses, and no moral fiber to them whatsoever.
Now you're going to wonder, is he talking about those? Is he talking about this one? Why is he talking about all those movies when he's supposed to be talking about this one? Do you think he's talking about this one? No, you have to listen real well, because I don't know. What's he talking about?
Well, with Wanted, so we know he's talking about Wanted, every 2 seconds there was swearing. Stakeout was just plain stupid. Adventures in Babysitting showed me that the young were starting to yell back at authority. And this one, what people will do to be noticed and accepted in the popular group. I just feel that the world has come to this, and it wants to go even further until there are absolutely no moral absolutes. Absolutely no absolutes. I witnessed this in my late teens and early 20s, and now as I'm pushing 40...
Excuse me, I'm pretty sure that he's like well past 40. This seems like a much older man who's like, when I was a kid, I had to walk both ways to school with no shoes on. My pants fell off. I'm sorry.
And now he has a child of his own.
My pants fell off, and then my knickers got chewed up by the dog.
And now I have a child of my own, and I look back on this and I want to grab him and run to hide. He probably shouldn't have children. I'm just going to throw that out there.
But his knickers got chewed up by the neighbor dog when he was trying to get home from school.
I know my
Why are you
Outlook.
ignoring me?
Actually, he
I
probably doesn't know how to use Outlook.
I don't ignore you. Why are you ignoring me? His knickers got chewed up by the dog. Do you know how horrible that feels?
Knickerbockers?
His knickers, those are underwear because his pants are gone.
Knickers.
No, his pants are
short
gone.
for knickerbockers.
His pants are gone.
His
Do you understand?
pantalones?
They're gone. Go ahead.
I know my Outlook, which he probably doesn't know how to use.
I know, I
'cause he
heard that
probably
already.
Can't use a computer.
It wasn't funny the first time.
My outlook on life has been altered a bit. Yes, probably a head injury.
He's on drugs.
Maybe a little anyway. Probably a lot. But I still have to deal with what my son learns out in the world. He's probably not learning a lot. I'm just going to throw that out there. And if it's not a strong moral fiber, then it must be rid of. This goes for me too. Make America Great Again. Oh, that's not in there. Sorry, I just assumed that would be in there.
I'm pretty sure this is a Sunday sermon now.
It's still terrible after almost 20 years. Send them back across the border, build that wall, lock her up, make America great again.
That's right. MAGA.
So, that is all we have
You
to share
can't
with
take
you
my gun.
today.
You can't take my gun.
In closing, you can't take my gun.
Don't you ignore me, Bubba.
I don't have any guns, but
Don't
if I
you
had
ignore me,
any,
Bubba.
you couldn't take them because I would shoot you right square in the face.
With my paint gun.
You don't even have a paint gun.
You don't know what I have.
I do.
You don't know what I have.
I do have a staple gun.
You know what? Because when you're not here, I can go do whatever I want. You don't know what I do.
Shoot you in the face with my staple gun.
You don't know what I do.
Do you think the NRA protects my rights with my staple gun?
I have a knitting needle underneath my pillow right now.
I don't think so.
You don't know. Have you been underneath my pillow? No.
Maybe.
No, you haven't. In closing, you can follow us on Twitter at Schweet Shiznitz, at Gravy Boat Pirate, which is Jason.
That's me.
At Krista White 73, which is me. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/Schweet Shiznitz.
Forward.
I think I said that. At
Forward.
Instagram, you can follow us at Schweet Shiznitz. Our email is schweetshiznitz@gmail.com. Share our posts and tweets. Tell your friends, family, your followers. Let everyone know about us. Your boss, your boss's wife,
Your boss's mom?
your boss's girlfriend. I don't know. Whoever.
Your boss's mistress?
Well, we shouldn't talk about that. The best gift you could give us, besides money, is more followers. True story.
And if you can give us both, that's even better.
Or you can give us followers that bring us money. I mean, hey,
And if you give us money and then they give us money,
it's a win-win situation.
yeah.
You can find Schweet Shiznitz on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify.
Stitcher,
You always say that, but you never put it in writing.
TuneIn Radio.
I notice. Wherever you listen to your quality podcasts, we'll be there. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us. Your ratings and reviews make us more visible and help others to find us. Give us 5 stars, you know. Schweet Shiznitz is paid for by listeners like you. To be a supporter of Schweet Shiznitz, go to patreon.com/Schweet Shiznitz. Supporters will get access to bonus content and help shape the content of our show. Like
You can
if
make
you
it round or square, triangular.
want Jason to stop cutting me off and talking while I'm talking, I mean, you know,
You cut me off way more than I cut you off today.
slap some money at him.
I feel circumcised.
We will also mention you on the air and send you gifts and surprises. Surprise! Here's my dog that wouldn't stop walking around during the podcast. So that is all that we have for this week. And we would love for you to tune in and listen to us again next week. So have a wonderful, sunny, funny day.
And until next week, goodbye. Tell your mom I said goodbye, and we'll see you later.
Farewell.